Hey, it's Joe at Red's Fly Shop here. I want to talk dry fly fishing. Dry fly fishing is the heart and soul of the sport, and it's a lot more fun when your fly float's good because you're going to be more effective and you're going to catch more fish. So let me give you some tips. I'm just about to launch my boat right here in front of the shop and do some fishing. It's August, it's dry fly season, so let's talk dry fly fishing and being the best dry fly angler you can be. So a good dry fly floats best when it's fished on a floating line. Not a floating line that used to float, but one that still floats. So let me give you a tip here. I've been using these. They're Rio fly line cleaning towelettes. They work great for healing a fly line, bringing new life back into it. Take a look at what I do here. Not yet. Grows focus. Yep. Okay, so I'm cleaning this fly line, and more so than cleaning it, what I'm doing is putting a coating on this that's going to be slick and it's going to be buoyant. It just takes about a minute, and I'm going to get all this dirt and grime off there. There's sand and grit, and I can feel that fly line getting slicker the more times I run it through there. It just takes a moment, and one of these little towels can heal up a bunch of your fly lines and bring new life to them. And the nice thing is I can do it right here, right on the river when I'm fishing. All right, so now that you have a buoyant fly line that floats good, it'll keep the dry fly floating when you mend it, skitter it, and move it around. It's time to attach a leader. The leaders I'm using, a Rio PowerFlex Plus. It's pretty standard. It's a little bit of an upgrade from the original PowerFlex. It costs a couple more bucks, but it's very strong. Now, a big wind-resistant fly like this one right here is going to require a bigger leader. So on a big number 8 fly or a number 6 fly like this, I'm going to use something like a 2X or a 3X tippet. When I get down to a small fly like this little emerger, I might use down to a 5X or even a 6X tippet to turn that fly over. So big dry fly, big tippet, not just because it casts better, but because big dry flies will tend to spin up very fine tippets. I run a 7.5 foot tippet on most of my big terrestrial and hopper patterns. I might use a 9 foot for number 10 size flies or 12 size flies, even down to about number 14. Once I get down to about a 16 to number 20 dry fly, I'm probably thinking about a 12 foot leader for flat conditions. So when you go to patch that leader up, eventually that tippet's going to break off. You're going to have issues with it. You're going to end up carrying a variety of different tippet spools, and you're going to splice in. I keep a stack of 2X to 5X tippet to repair those leaders. You do not want to use fluorocarbon for your dry flies. It sinks very quickly. There's only a few minor exceptions where you might use fluorocarbon tippet for dry flies or emergers, but those are few and far between. PowerFlex Plus tippet stays up near the surface, helping keep your dry fly on top. So now you've got your fly tied on. You're ready to put some floating on to help waterproof that fly and keep it buoyant. I use 3 different types of floating that we sell here at Red's. I think we even sell a handful of others, but these are right out of my kit bag right here. I've got Loon Aquel, which has a particular application and reason for carrying that. I carry a Loon Top Ride, a little bit different application for different situation, different flies. And then, of course, I got to have some Flyagra as well because it works darn good. So I'm going to show you the type of fly that I would use for each of those and show you how to apply it and when and why I might use each individual floating. Okay. We on? Yep. Okay, so this is Loon Aquel. This is the most popular floatant. It's a classic floatant. If you only had one, this would be it. So it's a silicone-based gel. It's pretty friendly, meaning it doesn't stink. It's not too sticky, easy to use. You could keep this attached to the outside of your vest or kit bag or just in your pocket. It's pretty thick. What I do is I just put just a couple of drops on my fingers there, just like that. And then on a fly like this that has both feathers and foam, I'm going to focus on just coating the feathers and getting a nice waterproof covering on that, just like so, and that's it. I'm going to go ahead and retreat the fly every so often. Maybe I'll throw a few false casts, or I'll just let the fly dry for a second so I'm not sealing the water in. You can go ahead and coat the foam. It does make a little bit of a glossy finish, but you really only need a drop or two. A bottle of Aquel like this lasts most anglers an entire season. I also recommend, if you are going to be putting it on a vest or a bag, there are some floating holders as well. So that's how you apply Loon Aquel. It works essentially for every different type of fly size. This is the Flyagra floating. I only use this when I'm in my boat because it's a bigger bottle and you do not want to spill this stuff. It's kind of a nasty material. It doesn't smell very good, but it works really good for saturating flies like that with a lot of natural materials. I'm going to go ahead and unscrew it, and I'll just set the cap down and I'll show you how to apply this guy. So I'm just going to shove that whole hopper down inside there, and I'm going to dip it in that goo, and then I'm just going to bring it right back out, and I'm going to let it drip just like so, and try to drain all the excess off of that. This is a great pre-treatment as well. A feller could even leave this right there on his tying bench and pre-treat his flies after he tied them, or at his desk at home. I use it when I'm in the drift boat, and I try to let it dry in the sun for just a few minutes to really let that stuff set up. Flyagra works quite well, but you don't want to spill this stuff. It's a little inconvenient for the wade fisherman. I'm going to put that cap back on there, and I'm going to throw it right back at the top of my kit bag. But it lasts a long time, and it really seems to help that fly perch up on the surface and ride the surface tension, which I think is critical for a dry fly of most types. So that's the Flyagra. Okay, the last one's going to be the Loon Top Ride. This has a specific application for little itty bitty flies like this emerger right here. Okay, I do not use this on large flies. It tends to get sticky and gunk up. A lot of people call this shake and bake. You put your fly in there, you shake and bake it up. I think it attracts a certain grime on the flies, and I do not use it on my larger flies because eventually they get dirty and change color. You can see all that stuff coming out of there. This is going to dry off even the tiniest flies and then add a nice coating of floating. I'm going to put my fly in there, shake it up. It's going to get the water off of it, and I'm going to go ahead and open it back up just like that. It's going to put a nice coating on that and dry it out at the same time. Now it looks like a little snowball right there, but after 1 or 2 false casts, that's just going to blow off, and you're going to have a dry fly that perches right up on the surface. When I'm fishing flies that are very, very difficult to see, I wind up going ahead and that are small and they sit low in the water. I'll put a little shake and bake on them during a small dry fly situation, and the fly is immediately easy to see. When I have a big rising trout with a little fly, I'll often shake and bake it. My anglers can see the fly better and make it much more effective. Dry fly fishing, like I said, is so much more fun when your fly float's good. You're so much more effective, and I want to leave you with this thought, especially since we're in August. Most terrestrial insects, that's hoppers, bees, ants, beetles, June bugs, crickets, all that stuff, including stoneflies. Most good food doesn't last long when it's in the river. Bugs that sit up on top of the surface tension and are extremely buoyant tend to get bit. Waterlogged stuff, that sticks, twigs, leaves, and other organic debris is generally, that's leftovers, that's junk, it's not good to eat. Most good food is fresh, sitting right on top of the surface tension. Throw a hopper in the river, see what happens. Even if a nice big trout doesn't eat it, you'll see it get devoured by minnows. If your fly is sitting right on top, it is more effective, more likely to get eaten, so hopefully these tips help.